NVIDIA announced their latest upscaler, DLSS 5, which many are calling a garbage AI slopification or slop yassification to make your character look like an Instagram model. In response to the backlash, the head of NVIDIA basically said, "You guys are completely wrong. The reason for that is because I have explained very carefully that DLSS 5 fuses controllability of the geometry and textures and everything about the game with generative AI. He also added that devs can fine tune the AI and that it doesn't change the artistic control. However, then I saw another article that said developers of the games that were showcased in the video found out about it the exact same way that we did. So I definitely wanted to take some time to talk about DLSS 5, which just seems like a huge departure from what we've seen from DLSS in the past. And I want to start us off with Tom. Tom, what do you think about DLSS 5?
I think this is NVIDIA's latest attempt to have a monopoly in PC gaming. I think that what they want to do is what they did when they introduced ray tracing, except on crack. And they want to say, because I've have like some documents of what the next big RDNA graphics card is going to be. And RDNA 4 is indeed a lot like RDNA 1, mid-range only, and then it was followed up by RDNA 2 that actually really challenged NVIDIA for the performance crown. RDNA 5 goes up to at least 150 compute units. It's at least twice as good at ray tracing per compute unit as RDNA 4. It could go up to 200 compute units in a 512-bit bus, although what I've seen is they might not give the full thing to the gamers, of course, but it's still, I mean, we're looking at something that's probably three. I mean, I don't want to be one of those guys that says this because this really got away from some channels a few years ago, but it genuinely could be 2 to 3 times faster than RDNA 4, but because RDNA 4 is only mid-range. And, if AMD comes out and they win ray tracing and raster, doesn't it just feel like something NVIDIA would do where they're like, well, we do neural rendering now, so who cares about ray tracing even? Right. And I feel like that we're seeing Groundhog's Day of what they tried to do with the 2000 series.
Like, you think they're like moving the goalposts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Rich?
Yeah. So I saw your video on this, Tom, and one of the things that crept in my mind as you were talking about this was like, yeah, this makes sense as in terms of like, how do they set themselves apart and have something that maybe gamers, not the gamers that are vocally angry like myself, but maybe gamers do want. Maybe there are people out there that want this and AMD doesn't have it. And so now, and they're locking this behind their proprietary like drivers and stuff like that. But like, I guess the question I had when I was watching that was like, is AMD far behind this? Like, does AMD not have this in their pipeline yet? Do you think this is something that they've already started looking at and can catch up to what NVIDIA is doing, for better or for worse?
I do. I think that this is something they're definitely considering. This is something also probably Mark Cerny's considering at PlayStation, but it depends what they mean by, like, if you talk about neural rendering and you're like, this updates the lighting in a game and it actually looks accurate. Okay, but that's not what they did. DLSS 5 replaced faces. And I want to say, I believe Daniel Owen is a YouTube channel that reached out to NVIDIA. And NVIDIA basically said actually that what Jensen said is wrong. Like the representative said, no, it does replace things. So I wouldn't be so sure Jensen was speaking accurately about this.
Yeah, so this video from, oh, sorry, Bill, did you want to go ahead?
Go for it.
This video from Daniel Owen, he was exchanging emails with, I forget the NVIDIA rep's name, but his name is, I think the first name is Jacob, but he was exchanging emails. And I don't think that Jacob said that it does replace things. No, but you're still right? I think the takeaway is the same, because what Jacob said was that the input for DLSS 5 is simply a frame and motion vectors, right? So the input is not geometry. The input is not PBR. The input is not lighting sources, right? The input is just a frame, and the generative AI is inferring all of these things, PBR, geometry, light sources, based on what the Gen AI can see in that frame. So, yeah.
But he also said, because I didn't see that video, but I saw like a summary, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like the guy, Jacob, that you're talking about also said the system is aware of the geometry. So in order for it to work, it has to have the geometry like fed to it, but it's not altering the geometry. That's what I heard.
In that video, he does not say that. He does not say it's aware of the geometry. It infers the geometry based on what it can tell from that screen. So that, 4K by whatever, 4K by 2K pixels is just what it gets plus motion vectors. That's all it gets as an input, and then it tries to infer geometry. It tries to infer PBR, and then he says it doesn't alter it. But what that means, or at least the way that Daniel Owen interpreted what that means, is that it doesn't alter it under the hood, right? Like it doesn't actually change where the polygons are. But as you can see, it does change effectively what the texture renders as, right? Like because it adds makeup, it adds, things that aren't there, basically.
Yeah, it turns it into an Instagram filter.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but okay, so here I have a question for both of you guys, because let's just imagine that we never saw Resident Evil 9 before, and somebody showed you that image of what's her name? Claire? Not Claire.
Mm-hmm. Claire.
It is Claire. Okay.
No, Grace. It's Grace.
Grace. Thank you. Yeah, Claire's from the other games. If somebody showed you that image of Grace and you had nothing else to go on, would you look at that and be like, well, this looks like shit? Or would you be like, damn, that looks pretty cool?
I'd say this looks like another AI girlfriend advertisement.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, right? Like, I mean, like some of the faces look good, right? That I don't think that is like, especially on the Starfield stuff, some of them do look good. I don't think
the guy on the left in the Starfield thing where he was like raising one eyebrow.
Right. And so like in that way, I can sort of see when Richard Ledbetter from Digital Foundry and Oliver Mackenzie like did this without like probably without seeing anybody else's reactions, not just like the public's reactions, developers' reactions, but like even just other people that probably also got that demo. Maybe they got these demos separately. So all they had was each other, and like I can see how it is technically impressive that you can do this. That doesn't mean it's good, right? And so, but nonetheless, I think Grace, that still, her face does not look bad, although it does look like Tom said, like a Instagram filter or girlfriend, right? But it is completely out of place with that scene. So that would, if you're playing the game, you'd probably catch on to that, whether you would know you catch on to it or not. Like it might feel discordant with the actual scene.
Have either of you guys played the game?
No, but I've heard how that scene opens.
So
I know how the scene goes, but no, I haven't seen it.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, please.
Let's see. Okay, good. This works how I thought it would. So I just want to be clear. This is what Grace looks like. This. She does not look like what NVIDIA showed. What NVIDIA showed was like some Xbox Series S crap. I don't know where they found those graphics that low. So Grace doesn't look better.
Yes. Yeah, that was the other thing.
Grace does not look better. Grace looks different. And it really actually annoys me quite a bit. Let me see here. I want to share another window here. And this is something that I was talking to contributor at Moore's Law, Karen Osugata, about this. I think the initial reaction was just that it looks like AI slop and whatever. But I think it's time for us to move on to the second and third tiers of this follow-up argument where you go, no, guys, I've never seen Grace look this bad. I don't know where they found these settings. And I'm playing on a PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm not playing on path tracing mode, although it does have ray tracing on PlayStation 5 Pro. And like, I don't know where they got these Garbo graphics. And let us also remember that they needed two 5090s to do this. You mean to tell me, like, even if like this, like in some scenes, Grace doesn't maybe look as good, like you're telling me that we couldn't, let me see this again. Like this couldn't just be what she looks like in real time on two 5090s anyways, using the traditional, because the cutscenes are in real time. And so I entirely reject that it's impressive. They took two 5090s. That other face looks no more impressive than this to me. It's just a different face. And I just think it's time for us to move beyond this, because what I believe NVIDIA is doing here is they know that, I mean, I like, what percentage of their revenue is gaming? It's like 5%. So I think it'd be a bad business decision for not half of the silicon to be for AI. And if it is for AI, they have to find a way to launder that performance to say it's for gamers when it's not. It's for their AI customers. 5090s are sold as professional cards for 10 grand. This is going to happen with the 6090. It will be probably sold for 20 grand or whatever it is, or more. I have no idea, actually, off the top of my head. And they're going to have to find a way to use that for something. It's the same with the optical flow crap in the 4090 to do multi-frame nonsense. It's because they had the optical flow accelerator for non-gaming uses, and they had to find a way to launder that as it being meant for gamers. None of this is meant for gamers. This is meant to be sold to people in the United Arab Emirates and then sold to China. That's what these cards are built for, and they have to find a way to justify it.
The 25090s thing, I think, really strikes me because in those early discussions, there's a lot of like letting NVIDIA off the hook of like, oh, they plan to make it scalable by autumn. And I'm like,
Come on.
like
to just one $3,000 graphics card? I mean,
right, 100%. And so like, it's a little absurd that, and even in that Owen Wilson video, the NVIDIA rep,
Daniel Owen?
Daniel
Owen
Owen.
Wilson.
Sorry. Owen Wilson is an
Not the
actor.
guy
Yes.
who goes, wow.
Wow.
Imagine if he was the one. But yeah, so the NVIDIA rep says it's an early preview of work in progress tech. And I'm like, who cares? You demoed it. You demonstrated this, and you're making this a pitch to gamers, to developers, and yeah, it's not good.
That's what concerns me, that they thought it looked good. Like, and so I have no faith in them to make it better because they don't know what looks good anymore. It's like those Coca-Cola ads that they burned $200 million to make a horrible looking ad where they can't even spell Coca-Cola correctly. And they're like, the fact that they thought this was worth showing tells me they are disconnected from reality.
So, okay. I just want to push back a little bit on the whether or not it looks good conversation, because Rich sent a picture of like some foliage or something in our DMs, and I looked at it and I basically said, this kind of shit makes me feel like I'm an idiot, because when I look at these two images side by side, sure, I can tell that they're different, but I couldn't tell you which one is better, and I'm going to make a guess that most people are more like me, that they're like, well, they both look nice, and they're not going to care about this stuff. And that is what bothers me a lot for multiple reasons. Number one, first off, they, like NVIDIA said that Capcom has signed off on this. Bethesda has signed off on this. That's not the developers, it's the money men behind it, But if they're going to, if the people who are making the decisions are going to say, all right, well, you're going to support DLSS 5 or you're fired, then they're going to do that. And if they're going to do that, then, we looked at that, Tom, you brought up that picture of Grace that looked terrible, right? If it looks that bad, and then it can make if it can make it look like they increased the poly count like a lot, by looking at the two pictures, it looked like there were way more polygons in the second one, which means that if they're making their games, then they could spend less time on modeling a character, because it's easy to make somebody look good. But here's the problem that comes into that, is if it's easy to do and the money men are telling you have to do it, then everybody's going to do it. And every single game is going to end up looking exactly the same. And that is terrible.
I mean, yeah, I'd say a few things to that. Number one, if Todd Howard thinks this looks good, he should retire. There's such a thing as having bad taste and being wrong. And I think a lot of times there's this fallacy of appeal to authority where it's like, well, he owns this studio that hasn't made a good game in like 20 years. Like, how many times are we going to re-release Skyrim, guys? Like, I'm mad. I've got the things out here. Like, because what, Starfield was such a roaring success, Todd. I mean, like, I'm sorry, like, who's against it? Death Stranding 2 is against it. That actually got critical acclaim and looks better than the AI slop graphics, I would say. And I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, every developer I talk to behind the scenes hates it. Well, there's some people like it, some don't. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, Concord, what, Sony wasted $400 million on a game that never really came out? Or, yeah, these studios make bad decisions. And like, there's a big
Mhm.
issue in AAA right now where they are burning money on things that just suck. And then you see the people who make Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 clown on it. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was a good game. Starfield was a bad game. I'm not surprised the Starfield studio or company likes it. Not surprised, because they seem to be out of touch compared to people like Warhorse.
Right, but you're talking to developers. They're not the ones that make decisions. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, maybe, but I just have to say, I feel like there will be pushback. I just
I,
don't buy it. I don't
I
buy that. Like, there's this big fight apparently I read in Bethesda where I think Microsoft wanted to move some Fallout development to a different studio, I thought I read, and there's a contract where they have to sign off on it, and Bethesda said no. And that's because they know if Fallout goes to a different studio and does well, Bethesda's getting closed. And it probably should be, because I don't know the last time they made a great game. And so like I think that there's going to be a thing here where there's going to be some sign off and they're not going to like it. Could be wrong. But I don't know. Well, I mean, then they'll make less money because people won't like it.
No, I've been saying in the group chat that I have this like vague optimism, and some of that seems to be coalescing a little bit. It's still very early, but like vague optimism that you're right on this like pushback thing, right? Because number one, we talked about the need for 25090s. Who knows how well they can actually scale this within 6 months, if not less than that. Number two, we've seen the pushback from consumers, we've seen the pushback from developers. Number three, I think you're right, Tom. I don't think this is really for gamers. I think this is
It's for
for
investors.
investors,
Yeah.
right? And so like I don't know that anybody's gonna go out and buy, and already, right? Like consoles are dominated by AMD GPUs, or that's the only option you have, right? And so they're at best, there's going to be this have and have not situation where a relatively small percentage of gamers have access to this technology and most gamers do not, which I think is already a thing that exists, this have and have not, because Valve is focusing on this like low end side of hardware between the Steam machine, Steam Deck, and consumers seem to be happy with that, right? Like they seem to say, I want my games more optimized. I want to be able to spend a little less. I don't want to spend, prices are already skyrocketing. I don't want to spend over $1,200 to have a decent rig. And so like this, I think K curve, this like dichotomy that's happening, I think is only going to amplify with something like this. So, and so I just, at the end of the day, I think there's going to be enough pushback that this isn't going to be something that sees wide adoption, even if they do land this plane.
Yeah, and something I gotta say here, it's a point I made in my recent video about how I think Nvidia could lock AMD out of PC gaming, and it's an idea that I think needs to be pointed out more. The idea that you would use AI to save money. I literally have Gemini pulled up right now. That's how I know what percentage of Nvidia's revenue is. I'm not a Luddite. I'm not anti-AI. And I will say, I know a
Right.
lot of people where anything that's AI, people attack it. And that's stupid. I mean, I'll just give an example. Like right now, I'm working on and putting solar panels on my house. I can just give it like 10 manuals and it just spits out the page and everything I need. It looks up permits in Nashville for me. I mean, it's incredible. I'm not a Luddite. But if you wanted to save money, here's the use case. It's not DLSS. This isn't DLSS. This is
No.
clearly like RTX Remix 2 is what I think it should have been called. And what this would be is NVIDIA says to an indie dev, ideally an indie dev, because I think AAA needs this less. And they go, hey, if you let us sponsor your game, put all of our stuff in it, it sometimes makes AMD run badly. But, in return for letting us do that, you get RTX Remix 2. We will send you a triple 5090 AI box. You can make your cheap assets. They have to be good enough that we know what you want. Throw it through that. It'll upgrade the assets for you. This AAA dev can't afford to do that themselves. They can't afford to, like, Kojima go to, like, Iceland and mega scan entire mountain ranges for Death Stranding. They can't afford to do that. But they could afford to make simple assets that they throw into a box and it gets upgraded. Here's the thing.
But
None of that needs
just
to be done in real time. None of it. It should be done beforehand, and then you put it in the game, and that way they can reject the thing they don't want. Why is it in real time? So it screws over AMD. That's the only reason you put, and so that it uses their AI cards that aren't really gaming cards. You would never do this in real time. You would make the assets first and then put them in the game. And if you use AI to help you do that, despite the haters against Expedition 33, I think that's a good use of resources, actually.
Yeah, like when you say it's a bad use of resources, like I definitely agree with you. And it like the idea that it's there, I think it's less that it's there to screw AMD, because I think, I mean, what percentage of the gaming market on PC does Nvidia have? Like 95% or something? I
Yeah,
think they're
those
not
numbers
even.
are nonsense, though. AMD's gaming revenue is like a fourth of NVIDIA, and NVIDIA has double the margin. So someone math out how that equals 5%. How do you have a fourth the revenue? And and NVIDIA sells consoles. The Switch 2 is selling well. So I'm sorry, I don't know where people are getting these from. I see these headlines these days, but the math isn't mathing. And I actually have people on the Moore's Law Asset team that broke down the revenue, and they're like, we think it's 20%, 30. So
20%. That's a
yeah.
big difference.
Now, if you're in laptop, it's like what? Nothing now. But APUs count. I think APUs count.
I think so.
But
well,
they
I
should.
was thinking of
but,
just discrete graphics cards is what I was
well, but
talking
people
about.
game on APUs now. I mean, look at Panther Lake. It's stronger than a 4050. I mean, so I think all of that should, and Intel should count. Intel's APUs should count. But if we're talking just discrete, I think it's like 20%. I don't think it's 5. Their revenue does not suggest it's that low.
Right. Well, regardless, the
They
thing
have
that
most
I
of
think
it,
is,
but it's not like it's negligible.
what was that?
They have most of the market, but it's not negligible. If it was negligible, no games would support Radeon. I mean, let's just be honest. If it was 4%, devs wouldn't have their game. Devs don't put their game on Mac. I mean, and that's like 30% or 20% of the market. So if Radeon was 4% of the market, I don't think their games would run on it. I mean,
yeah. Well, anyway, what I was saying is that, really, like, the reason that it's in real time, I think that the real reason is what you said, is far more that it helps them sell cards than anything else.
Oh, sure. Either way, right?
Yeah.
This is a way to make you have to get the new generation. Sure. Yeah.
Right. And nobody's going to do that when prices are ridiculous already and they're just going up, because, I mean, these cards have RAM in them, and RAM just keeps getting more expensive. So we're not going to be buying these cards. So like Rich is right. It's a have and have not scenario where people are like most people are not going to be able to use this. And then on top of that, most people, I mean, not most people, but many people are just playing on console, and that's AMD. So it won't use it. But it seems weird to me why Capcom and Bethesda would say, yeah, let's do that if they don't see a good reason to. Like, that's the thing that I'm curious about. I'm not saying that I like DLSS 5, because I don't. I think it's dumb. But why would they sign on for that? Why would they say, yeah, we're going to have our devs work on that? Rich, I see you're getting ready to say something.
I think what you said earlier is partially it, right? This, number one, it's the suits that are making these claims, and I think if you ask the artists that help make these models and these textures, they're not going to respond the same way that the suits at Capcom did, right? Or the suits at Bethesda. The other thing I'll throw in there is going back to the thought of this being for investors first, is that I think these CEOs, especially for like Capcom and, CEOs that are not already at Microsoft, so not necessarily Todd Howard, but they like hitching their wagon to NVIDIA because of where NVIDIA is right now. So again, not having to do with gaming, but just having to do with like, AI, NVIDIA, we're going to hitch our wagon. Maybe that'll drive our stock price up. That's my thought there.
Yeah. All right. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think about DLSS 5? Do you think it's a horrible idea, or are you first in line to buy, what was it, two 5090s to put in your rig? Tell us all about it down below. This was just a small part of my podcast, the Nerd Nest podcast. And if you enjoyed it, then do me a favor and click on that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, then I think you should check out the link in the description down below the like button. It's going to take you to the full podcast so you can check out the entire conversation and a whole lot more. If that sounds good, I hope to see you over there. Stay rad, and thanks for watching.